In the lush Virginia hills.
There was only one way to open that episode.
Talk about lush hills, though. My goodness, the green.
In Massachusetts.
Oh, Virginia.
Oh, in Virginia, yeah, literally. It was the first thing you kind of noticed is just you sort of getting over the border. So we've been in Florida, which is quite dry and like, it was a different kind of lushness. Like we all kind of were like, so that's getting more foresty around here. Like it's just, suddenly there's woodland everywhere and it's very dense. And then we realized we were in Virginia.
Virginia. So beautiful. So green.
Ooh, Virginia. Cut that out. Cut it again.
Never. Hi, I'm Michael Earp.
And I'm Bailey Turner,
Welcome to Michael's Walk.
the podcast.
Michael's Walk is a road trip, a search for something. Spoilers, it's myself, and it was inside all along.
If only it were that simple.
Driven by Tori Amos's album, Scarlett's Walk, I'm recreating the journey Scarlett took in its 20th anniversary year.
I'll also be there.
With the loving and patient
Always patient.
support of Bailey and Teague Lee, 3 trans queers set out across America
That's 33 states in 55 days.
to connect with the songs, the land that inspired them, and the fans inspired by the songs. We'll talk music, travel, healing, and hope as we ask the questions: how do I heal from 15 years of coercive control and manipulation?
And what role does the music we listen to play in our own relationship narratives?
We've self-produced this podcast and trip.
You can support us via GoFundMe.
For the full story, head to michaelerp.net. And then we stayed with the Krabby Apples. I think it's the 20th time we've mentioned them on this podcast.
I love them though.
Yeah.
Well, that was the sort of big,
Yeah.
that was the big thing of Virginia, and we between kind of Orlando and getting to New York in time to send Teague home was a bit of a race against time. So we kind of went through these songs in very quick succession. So our time with Virginia may have been brief, but the Krabby Apples made it incredibly powerful. And that time was, I know for me personally, was immensely restorative and made a huge impact in being able to feel a bit recharged again and feel a bit, and to be taken care of in a way, we kind of hadn't had that. We've been very alone and very much kind of running around, and we've had a lot of experiences, like we spoke about in Scarlet,
Sorry, I just have to... My brain is like railroading this entire conversation with, you'll be taken care of.
oh my God.
Sorry, as you were.
Yeah, thanks. Put that one on the playlist. I'm trying to remember the other lyrics now, but I can't. It doesn't come to me. But yeah, we've had a lot derail in this. Speaking of railroading, a lot of things have kind of come off the rails from the jump. Accommodation's been cancelled, and
Like
Michael
within a
got
week,
COVID,
we lost
our
3
second-
accommodations.
It was just, and then people who we've been looking forward to seeing, who've been looking forward to seeing us suddenly have to work. Or, there's just these personal circumstances that fly out of nowhere that mean that we're suddenly, we haven't had, a lot of expectations have had to shift, and we've kind of just had to carry on. And so staying at the Krabby Apples was kind of one of the first, was the first time, except for the wonderful, Teague's wonderful family hosted us in Houston, where we were all together, and
we were actually where we had planned to be.
Literally. That was really special.
Yeah, it was great. And it was nice just to be able to sit and be ourselves in a home rather than a hotel, in the company of other Tory fans, where we could just talk about whatever we wanted, literally surrounded by more portraits of Lady Gaga than I ever thought existed, let alone could fit into one single
been
house.
A portrait gallery
of Lady Gaga.
And beautiful animals.
Oh yes, lovely doggos.
Yep, and so many kitties.
Cats that I had to avoid for allergy reasons. While Bailey's like, I've got the allergies and I've got the cats.
Yes.
Yeah.
Well, mine aren't as apparently aren't as harmful as yours are. She says, sneezing and becoming slowly more congested by the minute. It's fine, we'll be fine.
We will be fine. So when we left the Krabby Apples, they took us up to the star that overlooks Roanoke.
The Roanoke Star,
The
I believe
Roanoke
they call
Star,
it, which is
as it is called.
built to like draw attention to Roanoke as like a tourist destination back in the 30s or something, and it's just kind of stayed, and it cost like $46,000 a year to run. I was like, Teague was doing a whole bunch of Googling while we drove. But it did offer a beautiful view of Roanoke. So it was a nice little way to end the day.
And it was quite lovely that it's visible from the front porch of their house.
That's exactly right.
And then we drove up to see down across the valley. It was gorgeous. And then we stopped by the Taubman Museum
Museum of Art, I think is what it...
Yeah.
Yeah. So is it a gallery or is it a museum?
I think it's... Yeah.
Who can say?
Who can say? They just curate stuff.
Yeah.
Don't put labels on it.
Well, we nearly didn't go because Teague thought it was like a flagship for Taubman's Baits.
But the architecture was beautiful, and Teague wanted to take photos of it, so
we got to... My highlights from Roanoke were kind of creating I couldn't call it anything other than a catastrophic ruckus for the waitresses at the restaurant where we wanted to have lunch. We got there at 1:00, and then we were told they were closing at 1:30. And we said, that's fine, we'll eat really quickly, or we can take it away. And then it was like, we just got treated like this massive disturbance. And when did we got our breakfast, and when were we walking out of that venue? 1:29, motherfuckers.
Yeah, you're talking to Australians.
Yeah.
We know how to consume food.
Yeah, we know how to eat sausage. Sorry, everybody. S&M rating. My other favourite memory from Roanoke actually was there was a bit of time where I went out front to have a bit of a breath, and this was the morning, and it wound up being where the Krabby Apples live. There's like a little flagpole, kind of like small park nearby. Just thought I'll just wander up there and see what the kind of go is, and it is a war memorial for soldiers of the area called the Argonne Circle. And I strongly encourage a bit of Googling because it was quite a powerful kind of little statement that was on. But what really kind of got me was how intensely weathered basically the plaque was, the Argonne Circle. Yeah. And sort of the efforts by a lot of women in the area who were critical to the proper commemoration of people who died, because for so many coming back from certain wars, the need to forget was so immense. But for people who were at home and who were losing family members, and the need to remember was so important. It was interesting because obviously of a certain time and a certain generation, these monuments were so beautifully maintained and were continually restored, whereas this sort of particular thing had so everything, the Laminex was completely cracked, right through, and it's clear that hasn't kind of really been passed down, that kind of same commemoration of people who died for a society that is going down the pan at this point. But it just made me think a lot about history and a lot about a lot about history and a lot about the desire to forget in order to just kind of move on and not remember the bad stuff, which I think kind of tied in quite well with Virginia, and about kind of the lengths of time that we'll just kind of, no matter how rough things get, we kind of tend to just put the past in the past, and we don't kind of honour it the way that we should, for good and for bad, and we kind of just lay down our body covering, here's all the same kind of thing.
Yeah. My connection... So the Virginia on Scarlett's map runs from Roanoke. She travels across down to Norfolk and then back up to D.C. So for us, it was our drive from Roanoke to D.C. that we were sort of spending that time with her. And my connection between the song and the place specifically was this moment. We're driving along the highway and we're surrounded by these incredible hills that are like greener than green, just so incredibly lush, just like the song opens with. But then there's this big lettered light up sign on one of the hillsides in the distance, and all the sign says is endless caverns. And it was a bit strange because the first thing that went through my head was, oh, it's me. Like, I have endless internal, like, there's more to me than meets the eye. There's more going on beneath the surface. And so, very much like Virginia, the state with its physical endless caverns that are like hiding in these hills, to the song that's all about history and how it's hidden and overridden and sacrificed and given up, but never fully relinquished, even if you forget it, forget that it's there.
Yeah.
And so somehow just this turn of phrase, endless caverns, was perfect for me in just illustrating that even if you can't see what's going on, it doesn't mean that things aren't going on.
For sure. So it opens up a really great conversation about the song. So what does the song kind of mean to you?
Yeah, for me it's all about how I lost touch with myself over the course of a relationship. In notes that Tori has written about the song, she describes that it's kind of a conversation between Scarlett and a teenage personification of the state of Virginia, and wanting to warn her against making mistakes and trusting the wrong man and sacrificing too much of herself, but also knowing that sometimes people need to make those mistakes for themselves, and recognizing how she herself has made those mistakes. In that regard, I very much see the parallels between my narrative and the one in the song, in that I'm constantly wishing that I could warn my teenage self about what was coming and what to do or not to do. But I have to also acknowledge the fact that I cannot change that now. And so it's all about reclaiming myself and my identity in who I am now, what I've been through, and moving forward as a stronger entity.
But also, kind of reflect on that how responsive would younger you have been to older you?
Oh,
telling
exactly.
you, if anything, it might have made you dig your heels in deeper and do another 5 years. Like that. Not only was it kind of always going to turn out like this, it's important that it turned out like this, and that's what we do now when we recover. I suppose in response to that, I'm at a place now, I have been for a few years, where, odd though it is to say, the person who conducted a gross sexual violence upon me when I was 19, when I was 7, when I was 12, and when I was 21, all of those people I'm immensely grateful for, because while I'm interested in what could have happened had those things not happened to me, I'm very grateful for what importance I was able to make of my life off the back of those incidents. And that's what my job is now, is to take what happened and make it have immeasurable value to my life and to the lives of others. And that's sort of what I sort of take from this song and take from those kind of, what if propositions.
So in the words of Ariana Grande, thank you next.
Yeah. In the words of Blanche Devereaux, eat dirt and die, trash. Or in the words of the great 90s one-hit wonder band Shooter, life's a bitch and then you die.
I promise you all we're taking this seriously.
There's that moment of you can kind of only hear it, advice like that, everything happens for a reason, and if it hadn't happened, then this thing wouldn't have happened, and and there's always a part of you that feels a bit like, fuck my drag. That's, it's a very suffer in your jocks kind of sentiment to that statement of like, oh well, too bad, so sad, see you, wouldn't want to be you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Anyway.
Which is why I struggle for myself in just accepting it and being like, oh, well, here I am. Better like paint a smile on it and be all cheery that it's led me to where I am now. Like, I am immensely grateful for the situation that I'm in now, in the relationship that I'm in now, in my sense of self that is still developing. But
the price kind of
Yeah.
sucks a bit.
Yeah, I wish I'd seen the price tag before buying,
Yeah, sure.
not being like a bull in a china shop.
Like a bull, like a bull. Yeah, it's like when I've had that lovely compliment over time where it's like, oh, you know, you're so wise, or you're so articulate, or like, how did you get to be sort of like kind of
I went through
sensitive?
shit.
And I'm like, well, it took a few trials.
Yeah.
You know, can't, 0 out of 10, do not recommend. You know, do not try this at home.
Well, that's like when, so when I ended the relationship, within 3 months, I had lost 30 kilos, which for Americans is about 58 pounds or something.
Wait a minute, how much was it?
30 kilos.
Let's have a look. 30 kilograms, 2 pounds. 66 pounds.
66 pounds in 3 months. Which is not healthy. No one should do that. But the amount of people in my life that were like, oh my God, you look great. You've lost so much weight. How did you do it? And I'm like, catastrophic breakup and depression. Like, what do you want from me?
Yeah.
So, yes, sometimes people are wise, but it's because of what they've been through.
Well, yeah, the things that, you know, you think that all these things happen kind of, yeah, sometimes it's not a great thing.
It comes at a cost.
Absolutely.
So,
well, on that light note, let's continue. I think, you know, the other things, you know, to sort of talk about this, what this song means to me, I completely agree with all the stuff that you've said. That kind of conversation, it made me think a lot about, you know, even like my younger sister, who I love to pieces. And we've talked, you know, in the past about how, you know, those teenage years really can destroy. They really can put you in a position of giving up things that you can't get back. You know, those sort of innocences and those interests that suddenly aren't cool, and so you drop them even though they were things you were incredibly passionate about. And that message of you're nothing without a boyfriend, and, you know, whatever kind of like that, you know, and articulating it that way was incredibly smart on Tori's part to sort of go, well, it's kind of a similar thing in terms of how countries and how, you know, groups of people can be misled, you know, by the sort of the salvation that these other people were offering. And it is that kind of, you know, he'll say anything to get into your pants kind of, you know, but on a cultural level.
but also we were talking about this when we were planning this episode, the notion of there can be some things that are genuinely positive changes.
Absolutely.
And so sometimes you can just get so caught up on focusing on those things. Maybe he earns a lot of money. Maybe
he's smart. He's, you know, in some ways he's smarter and has, you know, incredible intellect,
or has connections that help you in your career. Like, maybe these are things that are genuine positives for your own life. But when they cloud or overshadow completely the negatives in a way that you stop seeing them, that's when it becomes a problem.
For sure. Or when, you know, we talked a bit about the kind of consumption of self that a relationship can do, where you lose your individuality. And I think it's a trope, you know, that women will start to dress like their partners, or will kind of shape their personality to suit. And there's you know, the partner will get some sort of interest in that, but at the end of the day, the individuality is what drew the person to you. And so it is worth kind of having a really clear eye on, and keeping hold of. And often it's a really key sign of abuse when a partner is looking to kind of subsume your time and your energy and your sense of personhood, and will discourage you from wearing certain forms of clothing or practicing certain forms of culture, or seeing and spending as much time as you ordinarily would with family and friends. The stuff that kind of makes you you, if you're not aware of that, it's really easy to lose track of as and trade in for further intimacy with your partner. And that is, it's actually a really key sign of abuse when your personhood is as as she said, she loses a little each day. It's not, and it's that frog boiling thing again. Like, he's not going to necessarily come right out and be super controlling. And I don't want to sort of make any gender remarks about this. It could be that the abuser, I should say,
Yes.
isn't going to come right out and be like, well, as of now, you can never see your mum ever again.
Yeah.
It will be little by little. And that's something that's really important to learn, is like, and you will feel it from the beginning. It will be a very, very small discomfort, but it will be quite easy to trade in. But then that makes the next time that suddenly it does get a little bit more urgent, or it does get a little bit more demanding, or it does become the stakes become a bit higher, it will become easier and easier and easier for you to just kind of give that stuff up. So it's that, make sure you do have your own life in a relationship, and that you have your own interests, and you have your own time, and you have your own friends, and you have your own things that you spend time doing.
Well, this is the perfect place for me to offer my advice for Virginia.
Yes.
Here in the episode about Virginia, is to, in every relationship, whether it be romantic, intimate, sexual, or friendship, or even familial, like with your family members, it is a natural part of relationships for you to adjust yourselves on both sides to make room for the other person. There is a bleeding and overlapping that goes on, but I guess my advice would be to keep an eye on that the bleeding into is happening in both directions, but is also not overpowering. If you think of it as a Venn diagram, you of course want an overlap, but you don't want one circle to be so much larger that the other one fits inside it, and that the circle's original color shows and the overlapping color erases yours. Or you don't want the circles to be equal size and become one new color, because then you've both lost yourself. Like, I think the healthiest way to approach a relationship is to make sure that the three colors of a Venn diagram are all represented and have equal value.
Yeah, absolutely. I love that. I think it's a beautiful visual. Very apropos to Tori, in addition to Light Divided.
Divided, exactly.
My advice for Virginia, what was brought to mind was a phrase made, I believe it was by the late, great Kim Kardashian, which was, I know what I bring to the table, I am the table. And I think that's a kind of power that many, many more people entering into a relationship should have in mind. I wish that there was a bit more of an understanding that if a person is no longer appreciating the value of what you brought into the relationship, or no longer enjoys the value that you are continuing to bring in based on the changes that, based on your own evolution, then the relationship becomes unfair on both parties. Just let the dog out. The importance is, if someone is no longer valuing what it is that you brought into the relationship, or who you were when that relationship began, and if they're not able to appreciate what value you're bringing in now, through your own evolution while you're in the relationship, then it's no longer fair on either party to stay in the relationship. The relationship needs reevaluating, because, it's okay to acknowledge that a person isn't for you anymore, and the relationship was only built for a set period of time and a set component of your respective personal development. Yeah, it's worthwhile understanding that relationship doesn't have to continue, and what you start to do is you are clogging a space for someone who can love that human better than you can. Or you're clogging up space for that person to be alone and to figure out what that means, and you're robbing them of a lesson that they need to be learning, that their behaviour cannot continue and is not conducive to a relationship. If you keep staying with that person, you are teaching them that behaviour is okay and it's not. And likewise, you're teaching them that you accept behaviour that you actually don't and shouldn't. And you're teaching yourself that you don't have any boundaries and that you're safe. Your own sense of safety doesn't even matter to yourself. I suppose the point is, know what you bring and understand that if what you bring isn't valued, then it's not going to work going forward.
Yeah.
And that's when you start doing harm to yourself and to the person who you purport to love and the people around you.
Absolutely. What songs came to mind for you when you think of the themes that Virginia brings?
Yeah, what came to my mind is a song called The Pimp Song by the Tiger Lilies. Now, I had no idea about this band until I moved to Sydney and was asked to review them for a review site. And they're wacky, fucked up dudes. I've never seen anything like it. And they're kind of this weird Berlin punk kind of outfit. And they sing horrendously offensive, sacrilegious, gross kind of, ditties, basically. But the Pimp Song, I was entranced by it from the jump, and I have a lot of time for this song. I listen to it quite a lot. And essentially, it's quite a slow, haunting kind of accordion ballad, and in his very odd, high-pitched kind of voice, the singer tells the sort of tale of, and the opening lyrics are, you knock her senseless, you hate her guts, you call her a bitch, you call her a slut, you feed her addiction, you started it, she wants some more and you give her a hit. Like, it's all just this horrible, it's something about a horrible relationship that has just become so violent and so aggressive and so destructive. And then the chorus, the sort of main hook of the chorus is, and she wants to be with you. And when he was performing it, I was bawling, because basically kind of what was happening was this moment of like, this horrible violence is happening, this, this addiction and body being sold and all this, like, this, the most horrible depiction of a relationship that we have. And kind of that moment would happen where he would kind of just shrug, like, she wants to be with you. Like, that's just what she wants. It's just what she's decided, that she wants to be with you. Like, no matter how bad it is, it's just what she wants to do. And it still even gets me emotional a bit now, like, that we can get to a point where we'll put an idea of love over any other marker of health or strength or safety. And I just thought that it really kind of struck this notion where, we're singing about a girl who everything is changing about her, and everything good about her is being lost, and everything that she has of value is being sold out from under her, and she can't even remember her name. And or for the sake of protecting him, she'll lay down her body, she'll lay down her body, she'll lay down her body covering him all the same. Yeah, so that was the song that really resonated for me. And trigger warning, it's a very intense piece of music, but it is very powerful.
Yeah, I feel that. I feel that just from that one, that description of it. I'm not sure I'll be rushing out to listen to it.
Fair, take a moment.
But it might get a play sometime in the future. For me, I internalize and personalize everything constantly.
What?
I know, it's a shocking revelation to you all.
Well, the only reason I'm allowed to joke about it is because I do the exact same thing.
So, in relation to Virginia and how I saw it relating to myself, another song that comes to mind is Alanis Morissette's song Offer, which always undoes me on some level. Because the lyrics are like, who am I to be blue? Look at my family and fortune, look at my friends and my house, look at my health and my money. Who am I to feel dead and spent, and where do I go to feel good, and why do I still look outside me when clearly I've seen that won't work? And then the chorus is it my calling to keep on when I'm unable? Is it my job to be selfless extraordinaire? My generosity has me disabled by this, my sense of duty to offer. Because if I'm looking at myself, I think that this is equal parts like the gem of my character and my biggest flaw, that I genuinely want other people's happiness. But it is a double-edged sword because I am constantly giving too much of myself in order to maintain other people's.
I completely resonate with that, and it's when I feel the most empty and the most in pain that I find that the only way to kind of evidence to myself that I'm still capable of love is to pretend like everything's fine and show and like heap love on somebody else. Like, and just sort of, go, I'll find someone who like is in trouble and I'll just be there for them, and I'll just kind of continue to sort of eviscerate myself in order to make sure they feel okay when I feel completely empty. And like, that's my response. Like we're gonna have to listen to this when we leave. Like, I have to listen to this. That notion of like, I'm only valuable by what I can give to someone. I cannot kind of compute that same value just by being stored inside me. It's only until I continue to just sort of hoe it myself and give it away that I believe that it exists, or I feel it for myself.
Yeah, that's just it. And particularly from within that relationship, like, I recognize my ex's flaws,
Of course.
but felt that if I was a strong enough partner, he would be able to overcome them.
Yeah, absolutely.
And so it was all on me to prove that I had what it takes to get him through his troubles.
Yeah, 100%.
And so that's where I just, to my own detriment, continuously handed myself over without regard for how much it was costing me, until I honestly felt like I had nothing left to give. So...
And what you had given was completely worthless.
Yeah. Oh, there's another song.
Sorry if that sounded like super cold. It was just like a recognition. No. I didn't mean to be like. But I don't believe that. But that's what it makes you feel, right? Like,
it's just made me think of this other song that I didn't actually discover until after the breakup. It's called F Off by Ruth. Oh my goodness.
Bader Ginsburg?
No. That would have been a good rendition.
I would have loved Ruth Bader Ginsburg to have a music career.
And singing songs called F Off.
Yeah.
No, I discovered it because Anne Brun, who I seem to be talking about constantly, does sort of backup vocals for it.
Oh, okay.
And so that's how I found it. Anyway, I will put it on the playlist, but there's a line in that where she basically says that she's giving, like, her light was never enough to alter the darkness of him, and like his darkness was just consuming everything, and he just didn't have any intention of changing that. So anyway, that's worth listening to too. But I did want to say, with the Alana song Offer, I always pair it with her other song called Sorry to Myself, which is very much what it sounds like. And I identify with it very strongly in that it lists all the ways that I have failed myself in caring for myself. And like, when I think of who I need to apologize, it's me that is at the front of the line. But I listen to it in this sort of almost masochistic way, because I also know that I'm not there yet. I'm not ready to apologize to myself or
forgive yourself.
Yeah, forgive it and hear it. So, but I do feel like Offer and Sorry to Myself are a gorgeous little song cycle of just acknowledging that sometimes it's the way that you are acting in a relationship that is perpetuating the abuse that is being inflicted upon you. Not saying that it's not victim blaming. That's not how I'm approaching this.
No, of course not.
But
That makes sense.
Yeah. Whew.
Goodness me.
And we thought we'd just have a wee quick
a little
episode.
Cheek, yeah, before we head over to Provincetown. Let's just have a little cheeky chat about Virginia. Oh, wait.
Here are some fucking emotions for you.
That's right. We'll have it. I think it'll be a lovely day for a whole bunch of Alanis on the drive.
Oh, yes.
Just do a big Alanis. Yeah.
Fucking love Alanis.
It was, it's been really great talking about different types of music and recognizing that hearing other people put your issues into a form of perspective through lyric and through instrumentation and through storytelling, that really has so much value in making you feel more peaceful about your own progress, and can really guide the way of where you want to get to next. And that's one of the most powerful things about music is, you now have a song where you're like, at some point, I'm going to listen to this. It's going to make sense. And I certainly have times where I'm like, there's going to be a time. I can think of it, Tracy Chapman, At This Point in My Life. I'm like, at some point, I'm going to listen to this song and it's going to feel like it's in the past. That I used to feel like this. If you don't know the song, the chorus is basically, at this point in my life, I've done so many things wrong, I don't know if I can't do any right. And it's all about all the things that she's just completely fucked up and things that have gone wrong for her. And I'm like, at some point I listen to this song and I'm going to go, that was then. And this is now, where I feel like I'm moving forward and that it's not such a hard road and I've managed to figure out a few key things. And music has a really wonderful way of pinpointing how far along your journey you are and where you want to go next. And I just
Yeah. Well, our next episode will be Gold Dust.
Good luck, everybody. Gird your loins.
Godspeed.
Washington, D.C. was an incredibly potent place, so prepare for potent episodeness.
And we have a wonderful interview with Jordan Zanguz.
Much lived.
So that'll be great. We'll see you then.
Bye.
Bye. The Michael's Walk podcast acknowledges that the journey they are undertaking takes place on the sacred and unceded nations of many proud Indigenous peoples. From the lands of the Wurundjeri and the Boonwurrung people of the Kulin Nation, we are fortunate to call home, to each and every Native American tribe's land we'll set foot on as we travel. We pay our respects to their elders past, present and emerging, and humbly acknowledge their sovereignty.